Hi there, Colleen Saybackbar here, gerontologist and eldercare extraordinaire. I wanted to talk with you today about Medicare. And the reason I want to talk to you about Medicare is one of the most common questions that I get is, but doesn't Medicare pay for that? And the answer is probably not. And here's why. Medicare, not to be confused with Medicaid. Medicaid is public aid. We're not talking about Medicaid today. Medicare is health insurance. So would you ask your Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or Humana or any, ABC medical insurance that maybe you have through your employer, doesn't matter. Would you ask your medical insurance provider to pay your mortgage? No. So Medicare is not going to pay for your loved one's housing either. They're not going to pay for assisted living. They're not going to pay long-term in a nursing home. They're not going to pay for care at home. That's what medical insurance is, and that's what Medicare is. It is not anything more than health insurance. And it's only also primarily for people over the age of 65. So there's some exceptions to that. I'm not going to get into that today. I just wanted to let you know that no, very commonly, Medicare does not pay for things long term, and that's by design. So your next question then, once you absorb the fact that Medicare is largely not going to cover anything that your own medical insurance would not cover, therefore, older adults are not going to get more out of Medicare than those medically necessary services. And you might think things are medically necessary and Medicare may not agree with that. So I have to talk to you now about the fact, since Medicare does not cover certain things, how does your loved one pay for those things then? So I've got good news and maybe bad news. I don't know. It depends on your loved one's own financial situation. So the good news is medical care is very expensive, and most people who are over the age of 65 and who've paid into this system, they are eligible for Medicare. And that's by and large most older adults living in the United States. So yay, Medicare. The perhaps downside is that, now you've got to discover how it is that you're going to pay for certain things. And I have more good news. Most people say to me, Colleen, I don't know who to trust. I don't know who to talk to. I don't know where to begin. And, isn't there just a phone number I can call? Yes, there is. And the government thought of that too, back in actually, I'm not even going to guess. I think it was in the 70s, but I can't be sure. So the program or the phone number that you're going to call is going to be your state unit on aging, sometimes called the Department on Aging. So I live here in the lovely Midwest in Illinois, and our state unit on aging is called the Illinois Department on Aging. And this free phone number, 1-800-252-8966, is the phone number I would call if I'm you living in Illinois, but call your own state unit on aging, and every state in our country has one, and find out more about the services that your state offers for services among older adults. Here's the thing, and I quote, all of these state agencies on aging are there to understand and respond to the needs of all older adults. How about that? How about that? That's what they're for. I bet you didn't know that they even existed. Isn't that great? So, okay, so that's two good things. We've got medical care and we've got one doorway to walk through for you to get some of your answers. Now, would you like some more good news? In addition to your state agency on aging, this, the state is big. Guess what else you have? You have something called an area agency on aging. The area agency on aging is specific to the county that the older adult resides in. So if you are living in the United States, you have not only a state department on aging, but you also have an area agency on aging, sometimes called a AAA, not like AAA, the insurance coverage, just your area agency on aging. So your state unit on aging is going to probably ask you, which is a great question, what the zip code is for your loved one. And upon you rendering that zip code, they are going to give you the phone number to the area agency on aging that is familiar with the resources in that county that your loved one lives in. They're going to be able to tell you who provides care in the home. They're going to be able to tell you who the assisted livings are, the nursing homes, the home health companies, and a variety, the transportation options, the nutrition options, and more. They are going to be the folks that tell you where you can find the support that you're looking for. Some older adults, and by the way, this is defined by the units on aging, the state units on aging, and the federal government that govern these state units on aging. They define older adults not at age 65, but at age 60. So that may be good news for you. So when you call your area agency on aging, you are going to be connected with an information specialist who's going to be able to give you this information about the folks that provide these services in your area. Now, they're not going to be able to endorse services. They're not going to tell you, oh, hire agency A, not agency B. That they cannot do. And I know that can be a little frustrating, but here's the good news about that list or about that information that they're giving you. They've compiled this information for you and can start having a dialogue with you, because before you called them, you didn't even know they existed. So that's really good news for you. So please call them. Now, I want to talk to you a little bit about the sticker shock that you may not be ready for when it comes to those out-of-pocket expenses that your loved one might have, because Medicare doesn't pay for that. So, let's see. I want to So when you start talking about what the cost of care is, you do have options in the home, and you have options when you have those services that come in home. There's usually two types. There is non-medical, and I want you to think about non-medical as things like grocery shopping, preparing a meal, helping with laundry, helping clean the home, light cleaning. This is not, if you need a maid, that's not what these folks do. Let's see, picking up prescriptions, running errands, filling up the car with gas if your loved one does drive but needs a little assistance. And transportation's a good, actually, a good service that these folks provide too. So that's non-medical. The other is, you guessed it, medical. And medical is, if it's short term, some of that will be covered by Medicare. but that's very narrow. As I mentioned at the top of this call or this video, what Medicare will cover at home is very limited. Picture this, your loved one takes a fall, they break a bone, let's call it a hip, they say they break a hip, they go in, they get that hip repaired at the hospital, they spend some time in rehab getting stronger, which is the right environment for them, then they go home, and when they go home, they maybe have some therapy services there, physical therapy, occupational therapy, and that's not for a very long time. That's for a very short period of time. That's something Medicare will cover. Now, if you need somebody to come into the home to help with, say, wound care or something else that's medical, you're going to pay out of pocket for that. That's not something that Medicare will pay for on a long-term basis in the home. Okay. And the cost of care right now, on average, going to the non-medical, so those homemaker services, is approximately on average $30 an hour. And that varies by region. It could be cheaper in some of those, some states, but on average, it is about $30 per hour for someone to come in and provide those homemaker services. And that is something that is, they also have typically 4 to 6 hour minimums. So if you're thinking to yourself, oh, well, that's not bad, because like, what does my dad need? He probably just needs to go to the grocery store a couple times a week. And what is that going to take? Maybe 2 hours. So we'll get him 2 hours on Tuesdays and 2 hours on Thursdays. That's unlikely. You can do that, but then you're going to pay a premium rate for that. So around $30 an hour with a 4 to 6 hour minimum. We'll look at them. Let's just do the math, right? So 30 times 4, that's $120 a day, but 30 times 6, because that's where these rates are going, is $180 a day, or like a shift. So figure $200 if you're being generous, $200 for a 6 hour shift. So that is the going rate of care right now. And it is out of pocket. So again, I'm telling you this not to scare you. I am telling you this because that is the sticker shock most people go through when they first hear that. And I want you to hear this now and plan for it later. So that's care in the home. Now, some people freak out and they go, oh my gosh, my doctor just said that my dad or my mom or my loved one needs 24-hour care. Are you telling me that at $30 an hour times 24 hours, $720 per day times an average month, you're telling me $21,600? That's what I have to pay per month? I might as well move my loved one to a facility. So I am not saying that. I mean, that's very possible. That is possible. I've seen people pay it. But usually what happens is once you get over a certain amount of hours per day, let's say it's over 8 hours per day, sometimes 10 hours per day, usually what the care agency will talk with you about is a daily rate versus that hourly rate. Okay, so just know that. The other thing is we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like if your loved one moved out of the home and moved into independent living. So independent living, again, I'm going to talk about my region here, but it's not all that different. Certainly you're going to be paying higher on the coasts, right? On the East Coast and the West Coast. Those are going to be higher than probably what we have here in the Midwest, but it's not going to be that far off. So for independent living, figure anywhere between $2,500 per month and $3,500 per month. And that's dependent upon the community that they move into, and sometimes it's dependent on the size of the unit itself. Then you move into the next level of care, which is what we would generally call assisted living. And assisted living is never paid for by Medicare. Never. Okay? Just please absorb that. Assisted living is also never paid for by that other M program, Medicaid. It's never covered by Medicaid. So that ranges in the area between $4,500 a month and $6,500 a month. There again, depends on the level of care that's needed, and it depends usually on the size of the unit. Okay. Then we go to memory care. Memory care is going to range in the area of $7,000 a month to $9,000 a month. And then we go to the highest level of care, which is going to be the most expensive. And because of the intensity of the care that's needed, that's usually in a nursing home. And that's going to cost between $10,000 a month and $12,000 to $13,000 a month. So there are ways to pay for this care. And that's beyond the scope of what we can talk about today, because I really just wanted to let you know that Medicare does not pay for any of those costs that I just talked with you about, or in-home care. And if they do pay for it, it's because it's very temporary. It's very medically necessary. They're not going to pay for somebody to come in and give medications, for example, to your loved one. And you might think that's medically necessary, but that is not what Medicare is designed to do. Okay? So don't lose hope. Don't lose sleep. Just know that that is the reality of things. And if you would please type your questions in, either about Medicare, because I'm an expert in that, or housing options and what you can expect from different levels of care. I'm happy to talk with you about that. I'm an expert in that too. So I only offer you these things because I know for many of you, this is your first time through this. And I just want to, I'm not going to be the bearer of bad news, but I am going to educate you, because I really feel like an educated consumer is what is needed to get through some of these really emotional decisions. Okay, that's why I'm here. So please subscribe, give me your questions below, and I'm happy to answer those. Thanks very much for watching. Delighted to have you here. See you next time. Colleen Sabakvar, Eldercare Extraordinaire.